Hi. So it's Friday night, and instead of being a rager, I'm at home. It's cold, and I just can't really work up the energy to do very much because it's been a long week. And I'm getting under the covers because it's so cold. It's so cold. I wanted to talk about how in month 7, I think, of HRT, I believe I began in early November or late October. Definitely it was around the time of my birthday that I went to have a consult and obtained the informed consent for HRT, and I think I commenced a week later. So something happened around the time of my birthday where I just couldn't envisage another year without taking these steps. And it wasn't so much a choice or a decision, even if little steps were taken and I crossed over a kind of notional border. It's more like my whole life was leading me there. It's really hard to describe. But it was also like preceded by some really shocking, visceral, dysphoric experiences related to this, my body. And it all just came back to me in one big blast. It was around the time that I was trying to just take a bit of time out because of my partner's TB and all the medical appointments and all the emotional labour and energy that I was putting into that. And I realised that so often I just get headlong into whatever needs to be done, right? Usually for someone else. And it's not like that's not warranted, but I lose myself. And there's been many cases where it's either work or it's personal relationships or something that I think I can resolve for someone else, care as well. Those years of looking after mum, where I just displace myself and it helps me not to concentrate on whatever's going on for me. It's like a parenthesis around yourself, and because I've been dealing with forms of dysphoria, manifestations of dysphoria my entire existence, it just came barreling back at me, and I was lying in this bed, and this is an intimate conversation, and I just felt like radically like that I was in a different body than I should be. And then I thought, oh my God, the connection's there. I don't know what to do now. And it's going to be a journey. It's going to be a path. It's when I can finally say I've arrived. It's not a choice. It's not a decision matrix. It's much more about just going, you know what? I'm not denying it anymore. I'm not ashamed. I'm just going to bring all of myself to the fore as an act of self-care. And you know, a lot of people, when I announce this, having first taken the steps for medical transition, just praise me and call me brave. And you know, it's almost too easy to say that in some ways, because maybe from the position of someone who would never transition, they can't imagine taking these steps, and it just seems so monumental. But I was saying to my psychologist that it's both simple and monumental. It's just like letting go, actually. It's not about being something different. It's letting go of all the peripherals, the things that I have just consented to, you know, in a begrudging way. The deal of going on being something for other people, you know, and I guess just sort of inuring myself against the worst kinds of self-denial, which is like living as if you're not alive. So taking the steps was the first life-affirming thing I've done in a long time. And I guess there is a part of that that's brave, that is to say, I want to live. I want to embrace my life in new ways, in terms of changing my body and changing my relations with others, and what we call gender relations. But it's like I was always this person. I was just really down on myself and always felt like it would be absolutely unacceptable to be openly trans. And I was given messages like that over the years, including in regard to my career, right? That I had to just leave all that behind if I expected to get anywhere and lift myself out of, in those days, poverty. It's been, even from that time, such a journey, and I never gave up hope that this could happen sometime. And you know, it's one that, you know, it does have its challenges psychologically. You know, wondering how I'm perceived. I've mentioned this before. Whether the spectre of violence could lurch up at me, because, you know, once when I was trying out different forms of gender expression, I guess, as a young person, I got really hammered for that. And the experience of many people who are trans, especially trans women, is that we're, from a very early age, targeted on the basis of our gender atypicality and gender expression for everything from you know, physical abuse to sexual abuse, and so it's very disfiguring. Coming out in the open and just going, I'm going to throw this shame off. Whatever happened to me that was adverse wasn't my fault. And now this person is allowed to live in the full light of day. So I'm really happy about the changes that are occurring, like in terms of obviously the social aspect, but you know, we're increasingly accepted, but also in particular the bodily changes. I just look at myself, right? You can't see in this video, I just look a little bit frumpy, but I just look at myself in the mornings now and just go, this shape that I'm becoming is just so much better and so much more comfortable, you know, like, and concordant. And so before I used to just feel so awkward in my body, and my perceived maleness, my assigned maleness, because really speaking, there's, besides the obvious, there's not very much about me that puts me in that category of male. There's what happened to my body through male puberty, and God help me if I had actually been attended to and had this surface properly and be taken seriously as a young person. I would have liked to not go through that experience, because it was horrifying. It's like body horror. That's the best way of putting it. Going through a puberty that's changing your body in a way that you never expected, that you never felt was you. In terms of gender discordance, if you want to put it that way rather than dysphoria or bodily discordance, I would suggest reading about some of the magnetic resonance imaging that's been done for when people perceive the body shape as according to what's on a viewer screen. And a select number of trans subjects have undertaken these sessions of magnetic resonance scans of their brains, and you can see that certain kinds of areas of the brain that relate to an internal sense of body image light up and connect with those of the images that are the body that they perceive themselves to be, even though it's not the body that they developed, right? Through puberty, and that enforce them into a role as male or female. So trans people, based on this kind of set of studies, actually show in their brain areas that light up to demonstrate a very strong inner sense of actually having a body, like, you know, the sort of schema, the bodily schema in the brain, areas of the brain that are related to that light up when the so-called opposite sexed body image is presented to them, where their actual current image is morphed into something a bit more masculine or a bit more feminine, right? Or with features, secondary sex characteristics associated with the same. And to me, this provides some compelling data for what's actually going on for us neurologically, and it's not a disease. It's just that our inner sense of embodiment is in conflict with the way in which bodies beyond our will, beyond our sense of self, develop. So that's why I often talk about embodiment rather than, strictly speaking, just gender. But gender is an outward manifestation sometimes of a particular kind of inclination of ways of moving in the world, being in the world, and that is also its own form of embodiment. And these are things we can't help. I mean, that's why people call me effeminate as a young person. And I got in trouble for that too, right? At school, I've not been taken seriously as a young adult too, because of not performing masculinity in the ways that were expected of me based on a sex assigned. But all of this is going to change, not just with social transition. It's also going to change legally, and on Monday I'm having my first legal consult for the change of the gender markers, including on the birth certificate. And it's only going to get much more congruent from that point of view on, and with going forward from the 7-month mark. So it's something to feel good about.